Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again on another beautiful winter day out here. You know, ever since my paradigm shift and the complete destruction of my ego, I've been extremely aware of how dangerous ego is. Up until that moment, I had no concept of how deeply we lie to ourselves, and our perception lies to us, and our thought process, our conditioning. As soon as my ego death happened, I knew I could no longer trust my brain. So part of my routine has been to periodically look deep inside and check myself to make sure that what I'm experiencing or exploring, that some people call the enlightenment journey, I need to keep checking in with myself to make sure I'm not using it as an excuse, that it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy of delusion that's leading me down a path of allowing myself to get more antisocial, etc. And I think it's important for anybody doing spiritual work to look at themselves with a critical eye, because ego really creeps in there all the time, and it leads to things, at least for spiritual seekers and those seeking higher consciousness or enlightenment. There's a real danger of using this for spiritual bypassing and to fall into a spiritually narcissistic state where you feel superior to other people, you feel like you've accomplished something, that you're better in some way. And so as much as I believe in myself, I try hard to also try to call BS on myself as much as possible. And it's not fun, but like I said, I think it's important, because in my experience, the process of seeking higher consciousness and spiritual enlightenment begins with a self-empowerment and a self-belief and a desire to self-love that can easily turn into entitlement and feelings of grandiosity. But it's also really important to bolster your ego as you're going on this search, because you have to have the strength, the fortitude to go against the grain and against what all of society is telling you is real. And that takes strength and courage, and but it is a dangerous path, because you're ultimately working towards letting go of ego, letting go of all of these things that you cling to, and not just replacing them with different coping mechanisms or something to make you feel better. It's also a real danger for those who have experienced some kind of awakening or enlightenment experience, whether through meditation or even experiencing it with the use of psychedelics. After you've achieved some level of spiritual peace or awakening, the first stage of that is like an intoxication. You get really drunk on the feeling of everything, of perfection, of letting go of a lot of the shit that held you back. And that euphoria state, it's dangerous if you're not careful. It's a lot like falling in love. When we first fall in love, we get that rush of chemicals and endorphins, whatever, that, cloud our judgment, help us see what we want to see. Sometimes it's accurate, a lot of times it's not. But I'm sure all of us have made embarrassing mistakes while being under the influence of love, falling in love. And enlightenment is it's no different. So I've been checking in with myself to recognize where I still have my ego holding me back, my conditioning is still affecting my experience, and even to recognize that spiritual narcissism isn't necessarily something that goes away for a very long time. I just realized recently that I've been on this path since my ego death for 12 years. And actually, honestly, only thought it was half of that. And it's taken me a very, very long time to let go of a lot of stuff, but I have to admit, there are times I feel like I understand better than others. There's times that my love for other people and their behaviors borders on condescending, like I'm watching children play. And I try to be very aware of this and make sure that those feelings get checked right away and that none of it presents in my actions or my words, while I balance it with the reality that this is just a different place to be. Maybe it's a lot more complex, maybe it's delusional, but it's always hard to see the forest when you're in the middle of the trees. And I urge anybody who's on this spiritual quest to look closely at themselves, because I think it's something we all share. I don't think it's just in the extremes, just in the people who purposely manipulate others for their own well-being. I know that is an extreme level of narcissism. But I think those feelings of superiority and being better, they exist in most of the people seeking or practicing spirituality. And until we start talking about it and admitting it and saying the problem is me and not just everybody else, we're not going to really evolve from it. Anyway, I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say on that subject in the future. But until then, thanks again for hanging out with me. I've had a great afternoon out here. Hope you guys take care. Thank you. Bye.